make sure that our slides are advancing. Hopefully you're seeing a fabulous picture of John and me. All right, so I'm Paula Williams.
And I'm John Williams.
And we are ABCI. And ABCI's mission is?
To help all you folks out there sell more stuff and services and products.
Right, to sell more products and services in the aviation industry. And today, to that end, actually, we do a lot of these educational sessions because we found that the more people know, the better they do, and the better we do. The better the industry performs, the more potential clients for us, and so on. So we are really glad that you're here. And also here today, we have Doug Evink, President and CEO of Tanis Aircraft Products. And Tanis does preheat systems for turbine and helicopters and piston aircraft. And Doug, welcome. We're glad you're here.
Thank you. We're glad to be here.
Excellent. You want to tell us a little bit about Tanis?
Well, Tanis Aircraft Products, as Paul had mentioned, is a manufacturer of preheat systems and preheat products that enable our customers to use their airframes in all types of weather, predominantly colder, but now with the EMS side, the emergency medical service, the lifelink type helicopters, we are now finding our product being installed all throughout North America. We've been in business for 41 years. We manufacture our product in a great test bed called Minnesota. We have a manufacturing site at Glenwood Airport in Glenwood, Minnesota, and our engineering and admin and sales office is in Minneapolis, near the Anoka County Airport, one of the reliever airports.
Fantastic. So you don't have to go very far to look for your ideal test conditions.
That's very true.
And Doug Goldstrom, Doug from the other part of the country, is President of Sales and Marketing at Special Services Corporation, which is a charter and management company that takes very good care of their customers in South Carolina and neighboring states. And Doug, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about SSC. I know you do it better than I do.
Well, you do a good job. Thank you, Paula. Yes, I'm Doug Goldstrom, and I work for a company called Special Services Corporation, and we are a management company, manage jets and single-engine airplanes for owners in and around the Greenville market. We also, the biggest part of our business is charter. When those owners aren't flying those aircraft, we're putting them out in the charter market with local clients, businesses, and for that matter, brokers all over the United States. We also offer a couple other components in our maintenance. We do in-house maintenance and outside maintenance as well. And we are a Cirrus training center, which correlates very well with our Cirrus charter program as well. So that's what we do, and we are in Greenville, South Carolina, and it's a beautiful 70 degrees down here today.
Oh, fantastic!
We don't have to fight that weather like the North does, but yeah, we're in Greenville, South Carolina.
Fantastic. Well, and the reason that I invited both Dougs today, besides the fact that they both have the same first name, is because they're both from companies that have a really strong referral base and a really strong business that comes from repeat customers and things. So, we really want to show what's really working in the industry and not just talk about textbook theory, which we can talk about all day long, but having people who are really selling products and services in real businesses in the real aviation industry in the wild is something else. So I wanted to share with you, the textbook for the next 3 slides, and then we'll get into the real world. The textbook version of Phase 3, of course, we have our marketing system. Phase 1 is advertising and prospecting, which is what most people kind of think of as marketing, is just Phase 1. Phase 2 is building credibility and closing sales. So that is everything that happens from the time you make first contact with a new prospect to the time that you actually close your first sale with that prospect. And we know that in the aviation industry, Phase 2 is longer than it is in most of the rest of the world. And then Phase 3 is really the sweet spot. And so it's our favorite topic because every time we make an investment in a Phase 3 marketing activity, we have a much better chance of a great return on investment than in either of the other two phases, because people already know, like, and trust you. And, that just makes it gets over that sales resistance. It gets over the trust barrier, all of those kinds of things, so that activities that we do here are easier, more fun, and more profitable. So just to show you some kinds of activities that we have in phase 3, things like new customer packages, customer satisfaction surveys, follow-up calls, testimonial requests, thank you gifts, referral incentive packages, weekly emails, printed newsletters, social media conversations, greeting cards, direct mail promotions, maybe cross-selling one product to customers who have bought a different product, those kinds of things. Or if you have repeat sales on some regular cycle, you can always send reminders at whatever that interval is supposed to be. But Doug Evink or Doug Goldstrom, did you have any thoughts on any of these post-sale activities? Are there any of yours that are particular favorites that you wanted to talk about? Or I know we'll get into more specifics later, but in general, while we're on this slide, did you have anything you wanted to share?
Well, I'd just like to add that all those listed on there are very important. And in our circles, we don't utilize all of those to the nth degree, but there are a number of them on there that we do use. We have a referral incentive package, and it's kind of custom tailored to each individual person. It's not like we have this big package deal that we send everybody this, or we give everybody this, or it's discounted on this. We kind of custom tailor it to each person. We think that's important to find out what that customer likes. What incentive we can give them is going to be different than what incentive is going to work for somebody else. And it's a thank you for referring that business to us. So I think all those are great to incorporate. Some of those you're going to use a little more than others during the course of your business cycle.
Right. And yeah, we don't advocate that everybody run out and do all of these activities. It's going to depend a lot on your business and your situation. And Doug, you have a fairly, I would say, elite customer set that expect to be treated very well. Hence the name Special Services Corporation. And so you have a very different situation than somebody that is maybe selling $9.99 software downloads or something where.
That's right. Well, you're right.
Yeah.
You're dealing with a much smaller market segment too, as well. When you're talking about charter, who's going to charter in our market or surrounding market? As you said, you're not selling download software at a certain price point. We're selling luxury. We're selling luxury travel. That's what we're doing.
Right. Exactly. Doug, did you have anything to add to this, or?
Yeah, what we've known, and like I said before, Tanis Aircraft is now in our 41st year.
Right.
And what we've known as a fact is our best salespeople are our customers. And we also have known that once we have identified someone that has determined that they have a need for a product such as ours, that if we get to talk to them or if we have any conversation with them, our close rate is off the charts. It's in the high 80% or even more once they've determined that they need something. So what we've done is actually just started in this last year of the phase 3 part. And so what we're really doing is reaching out and finding people that are interested in our product via email, via various type of activities. And that's really the key for us. We have not used a lot of the phase 3 post-sale activities. We zeroed in on certain ones to refine it and make sure that what we're targeting, we're getting. And so far, it seems to be very good.
Right, exactly. And of course, all of this is predicated on the assumption, and maybe we shouldn't make the assumption, that you have a fantastic product or service. And in both of your cases, that's absolutely true. You both have testimonials up one side and down the other that, customers really like what you've done. So it's just a matter of reaching or reminding them, to refer business and so on. All right, so that's kind of the nutshell of the marketing system and its place phase three's place in it. And of course, it's our contention that the money in aviation is made in phase three. And again, you're assuming that you have a fantastic product or service. And I'll tell you, the reason that people hesitate to make referrals, I had somebody ask me just recently to recommend a restaurant, in Salt Lake City. And I just froze, because the reason that I hesitate to give recommendations is because I am not always right. Every time I give a recommendation, somebody else has a different experience. So, thing number one is it has to be a fantastic business that you feel good about recommending. And then thing number two is you want to be sure that that experience is going to be consistent. So if you refer somebody, they're going to have the same good experience that you had. But we'll talk about that, some of the things that we can do to improve that comfort level, I guess, in just a minute. But, I think, the reason that the money is made in phase three of aviation marketing is because you don't have to get over that hurdle, the trust hurdle of you speaking with a customer for the very first time. You have to break the ice. And then there's a certain barrier there that you don't have later on. And some of the ways to break through that barrier are to use different things like Doug Evink in Tanis. You do not have to have supplemental type certificates. I mean, it's not a legal requirement, but you do it anyway. And I think part of the inspiration for that, and you can probably talk more about this than I can, but is so that people feel comfortable that you have met and gone above and beyond the requirements for your product and have that third-party verification.
That's exactly right, Paula. When I purchased the company that had been around for a good deal of time, there was a lot of customers that loved our product, and yet we were definitely the market leader, but yet there were other folks and other companies that were comparing themselves to us. And my history has always been that if you keep on raising the bar, it makes it much more difficult for people to make that comparison. You're right, our product does not need a supplemental type certificate. It's installed on a no hazard basis via the FAA, but we don't sell just to the United States. Our product goes outside the United States and to outside North America 30% of the time. And this just gave us, for our customers in the United States, an extra set of eyeballs and engineers and process control folks to look at what we've done that's been already approved by the FAA. We do have a PMA, a Parts Manufacturing Authority, for our product, and we took it to that next level. So we have our four-cylinder piston system, STC, for all Lycoming, Continental, and Franklin engines, and our six-cylinder. And then the helicopter industry is a little bit different and requires some additional certification, so that we are also taking a segment of our product and getting STCs for specific EMS-based helicopters that we intend then to take and be able to use that outside the United States. Like, for instance, our Bell 429 product has already been approved by Transport Canada, by Russia, the IAC in Russia, and by JCAB in Japan. So we're just basically giving the people that already were our great referral source that extra set of confidence that says, of course, I'm going to always say my product's the best, but what are my customers saying, and what did the FAA say when they looked and tested our product? And we had to prove to them that it does what it does.
Right. And I think, if you looked at this as the equivalent of, like if I'm recommending a restaurant having a 5-star rating and other reviews, then I feel more comfortable referring that, because I know that a third party has looked at that restaurant, and it's not just my experience that I'm relying on to make a good referral. I've also seen that it's been approved by some third party, and looked at, as you say, by another set of eyeballs, another set of engineers, another set of critics to make that determination. So it's not just my opinion and I'm more likely to feel comfortable making a referral or giving a testimonial because I know I'm not the only one having that experience.
And of course, the other thing is these are regulatory critics too, so it has an added weight. But we learned a lot, and I will say, I'm proud of our employees and what they did to get our very first STC, and now 4 more since then. But our products improved because of the process. We submit, and we believe we have what it takes, and it's all ready to go. And during that process, you find some things that you have been asked, and you actually come out with a better product. So we do know that actually raised the bar for us internally and, of course, externally too.
Right. So that third-party verification, it's more work, but it's been worth it in your case.
Correct.
Excellent. And Doug Goldstrom, you have a similar situation with third parties, Argus and Wyvern, and you also have the NBAA 50-year safety award. So you've got some third-party verifications that are not necessarily regulatory, but I know they are strict. That Argus and Wyvern are not easy to get, are they?
No, they're not. And why the reasons we have them is because we want our customers to identify us, to say, hey, they take an extra effort to make sure that they are a safe operator, that we do follow the protocols, and that we do have the highest standards. That's one thing we can brag about, even in our local market, that we are the only operator around, and one of the very few in South Carolina to have both ratings, because it's important. And we also, expanding our business out with our broker network, it was important to have those as well, because of that, we bring additional business in from the brokers, because there are a lot of brokers out there that will only do business with operators that have an Argus or a Wyvern rating. And that was one of the reasons why, because it is a big investment. You're spending $10,000, $15,000, and $20,000 each year to get these certifications, and then there's got to be a payoff. And the payoff is your customer flies in confidence, knowing that we are a great operator based upon that standard. And then, of course, you bring additional business into the brokers through that. And of course, then the NBAA, they honored us a number of years ago with the 50-year safety award, and that's been a big push for us as well. That's a great sign that, hey, you must be a safe operator, and you are conscientious, and you have the right SMS programs in place through your operation.
Right. In fact, that one's kind of dated. It might be a 55 or 60.
Yeah, that's true. It is 55 now.
It is 55 now. Great. Well, we got to get that updated. Fantastic. But, people often ask us, is it worth joining this organization or applying for this award or applying for this certification or this rating or whatever? And the answer is always, does it mean anything to your customers? And, in your case, you've got brokers that you're working with. So, the Argus and the Wyvern means a lot to them.
That's right.
Right.
In our case, it strictly just based on brokers. It's important for us to have that rating, because otherwise they would not utilize you to fly with you. Because we fly for Syngent, Flight Options, NetJets, and they'll only use us because of those ratings. So
Right.
You can potentially walk away from any of that business as well when you make that decision to say, hey, I don't think we're going to participate in that.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Do regular customers or civilians or, people who are maybe not in the aviation industry, do they ask about those as well, or do they not know?
I would say a quarter of them do ask about it. 100% of them are told about it.
Okay.
And, you're always asked the question, I get the question asked a lot, not like this, what differentiates you between the competition, but what sets you apart? Well, that's part, there's a cost to that. And that may mean we're a little more expensive on a quote or on a trip. But I certainly spell that out to them, because in the sales process, that starts building that trust factor with them, saying, okay, well, they are concerned about, and they want to make sure that they do have a great safety record and they do follow the protocol. And, we just don't stick to the FAA standard or below it only when the FAA shows up, but that we are a safe operator, and we've actually invested in third-party auditors coming in here and going through our operation and our paperwork and our manuals to see that we are a safe operator. So customers sometimes ask. Most customers don't, that are not in tune with or have not flown with brokers in the past. those people tend to know it, and they will ask the question, or they'll say, "I called you because I saw that you were listed there." But I always make it a selling tool because it does build credibility and trust with that customer.
Excellent. Right. Okay. Well, let's talk about testimonials, which is kind of, we like to call it maybe one step short of a referral. And that's kind of the first step. If you're getting a lot of testimonials, or if you're getting good at getting testimonials, then it's just kind of one step further to ask for a referral. And since you're already on a roll, Doug Goldstrom, we'll continue with SSC for just a minute. And these are a couple of the testimonials that we've received for SSC. And I don't know if you can talk a little bit more about these two gentlemen, Jim Hamlet and Gerald Gage there.
Oh, sure. Jim Hamlet, obviously you can see on the screen, he's a chief pilot for a company in the Greenville area. They do real estate development, and they got a fleet of aircraft that we maintain in maintenance for them, and done business with them for over the years. That we just provided pilot services for them for their jet because Jim's out, had some surgery recently and's been out. But our relationship goes back a long time with them. We used to have their airplane on charter at one point in time as well, and we've always delivered well for them. And we've built his trust over the years, and that's how we got the maintenance on all the aircraft coming in. And that's why we were the first person that he calls because of our relationship with them. And that testimonial certainly helps to when I'm talking to other potential clients and customers about what we do and the services we offer. Jim has always said, please have them call me, and I will talk to them about you guys. So that testimonial just helps build that trust again as you're talking to your clients and you're trying to woo them in and say, hey, trust me with your multi-million-dollar aircraft, and
Right.
manage it for you, and let us put it to work for you. So the other testimony there was Jerry Gage, and this is, I'm going to go ahead and I'll spill this story here on him, but he's just a private pilot, was in the Navy for a while, and trained, and was in Russia for a number of years and working for Deloitte, and decided to retire and came back to the United States and decided to settle in Greenville. And how he got connected with us is he bought his first Cirrus, and he was looking for options. Should I hangar this myself? Should I do everything myself? Should I have somebody manage this? Well, we were referred to him through a contact that we had in aviation and said, hey, you need to go talk to the team at Special Services. So he came in, and we went through, and we had never up to this point had Cirruses in our fleet. We were all jet aircraft, a company that managed jets and chartered jets, but never a single engine, and never really had given it much thought. But he came in when the economy had a downturn, and we had some opportunities available, and put a package together for him, and he liked it. He liked the idea of coming out, the airplane's ready, he just gets in and flies. It's put away at night, it's fueled, it's cleaned, it's maintained. He gets a monthly bill, and it's easy for him. And he likes that lifestyle because that's what he's used to now, and that's what he's looking for. But because of that referral, he has sent us more people than I can count on one hand, two hands, because of how pleased he has been with the services we've done for him. And really, all we do is maintain it and just manage it for him. But he loves it, loves that service, and he's been a huge. I always joke with him, he's like our second salesman. He's always out there talking about how great aviation is, number one, and then secondly, how wonderful Special Services is, and how if you can do business with them, you need to do business with them.
Right. And I think, your relationship with these two gentlemen is almost more of a partnership than customer relationship. Would you say that's true?
Yes. It's gone. Yeah. We got a great relationship with him, and it's gone past just being professional into we're a great relationship with them. We do things with them outside of work and outside of business, and that's the kind of relationships you want to build. Those are friendships. Those are friends for life.
Right. In fact, I'll spill another bean here, and that's Jim Hamlet's written a book that's actually quite good. And I think he sent me a copy after we did this testimonial interview, and ended up writing a review, for the book and things like that. But those kinds of things, if you know about your customers, and I think we put even a little article about that on SSC's blog, here's somebody that is one of our partners, and here's something that he's doing. So showing a little bit of personality of the people that you're working with, and those external ideas, that show, wow, these are real people that actually have other things going on in their lives besides being business robots and
That's right, or pilot robots, right?
pilot robots, exactly. That's absolutely true. And the other thing about both of these two gentlemen is, the way that I got to meet them was, I think I was working with Brad Searles at the time, and he suggested that I call these two for testimonial requests. And sometimes that works better when you have a third party that you can, it's easy for me to pick up the phone and say, hi, I'm Paula Williams with ABC. I understand you've been doing business with SSC. Can you tell me a little bit about your experience? And, would you mind if I recorded the call? And these guys both were just tickled pink to have the opportunity to talk about SSC. And sometimes having that third party makes it less awkward, I guess, to get testimonials. And, Doug, I'm not sure how you feel about getting testimonials or referrals, but some people feel a little weird about that. And, that's sometimes a way to alleviate that, is to use a third party.
Yeah, sometimes it's a little awkward. It's like, well, and they don't, of course, they want to say nice things about you, and they are, obviously, but it's easier to communicate those sometimes to a third party than it is to us.
Right. And they're more likely to believe it, if it's a third party as well.
Well, you kind of put them on the spot, too, when you ask. It's like, well, yeah, of course, then we do have some clients that, they wouldn't care. They'd sit there and sing the praises. And,
exactly, which is
out.
fantastic. Yeah, there's one other topic that I wanted to touch on, and maybe both of you could comment on this. There are some people that won't give you referrals or testimonials because they want everything that they do ever in life to be confidential. And that would be, people in certain businesses, and, people in the finance industry in particular, I think, some medical industries. They may not want people to know that they have an airplane, or they may not, have you found that to be an issue? And have you found a way around that at all? Or?
Yes, we have. That's been an issue on numerous occasions. And how do we avoid that? Well, if it's a director of operations for a large company that we fly them, usually it's no titles listed in that testimonial, no reference to the company they're working for. And some jet owners have just said, no, I'd prefer not to have my name actually mentioned at all. And sometimes it's just anonymous, and those, I don't like those kind of testimonials to some degree because it loses that personal element. You don't attach that face and name. So those are the ones we kind of steer away from. It's best to go after those that don't mind identifying with you and saying, hey, yes, this is me and this is who I am. Just kind of back to how you made it, the personal story about Jim Hamlet, Here's a person that, just not giving a testimonial, but there's a little background of him, and this is an actual person. And, how do we do that? Obviously, we reach out to them and contact them, and, they're very gracious about it and just say, hey, we prefer not to be mentioned. So
right.
Sometimes we can get around it by being discreet with who they are and what they do. Other times it's just we don't publish it at all.
Right. So we can publish a testimonial from Nathan from Oklahoma, or whatever. But
that's right.
And sometimes that's the best we can do, and sometimes we can't even do that. But and that's fine. We do what we can. So moving on, Doug Evink, this is Brian Barber, who couldn't say enough nice things about Tanis, and he works for Polaris, and they have a fabulous test bed also in Minnesota and points north.
Yes, it's a very interesting story that Brian is the chief pilot for Polaris, which of course is the snowmobile, four-wheel, now motorcycle manufacturer. And their manufacturing plants currently were all based in Iowa or Minnesota. I know they're building a new one now further in the warmer climates for those that can't tough it out in the wintertime, right? But it was interesting because this falls into a comment that we get several times when we're talking to people that either maintain or own aircraft, and they say, well, it's parked in a heated hangar. And of course, my comment to them is I say, oh, well, then you don't ever fly, right? They said,
Right.
Parked in a heated hangar, it means it's parked there, and normally you're using it to get from point A to point B, and what's the temperature at point B? And this was an interesting story because the corporate headquarters is near the Twin Cities in Minnesota, and they are in a heated hangar at Flying Cloud Airport. They would fly up in the morning to Roseau, Minnesota, and almost always fly back in the afternoon. And they purchased one of our products, the one that you can see in the picture. They had purchased our insulated engine covers, so when they landed in Roseau, they would bundle it up and put our insulated engine covers over top of the engines in their King Air. And that does a great job for 3-4 hours of keeping the heat in. And Brian just said, well, that's all I need. I really don't need anything more. And this kind of goes to where you're always networking. One of my employees, Dirk Alice, and I were making a presentation at a little Saturday morning donut and coffee meeting with a bunch of area pilots, and Brian was there, and I went over to him and said, how can we possibly get our product on your airplane? Because, I mean, you're in a test bed. And he gave me that same story again, and I said, I tell you what, here's how strongly I feel about our product. We'll go ahead and sell it to you, but if it doesn't do, if you aren't just thrilled with it, we'll refund the money. And basically, you'll get the system at no cost. And of course, that was kind of one of those proverbial deals that you couldn't say no to. And he installed it, and he said, and Paula heard, he could not believe the difference. They, back for quite I think it got installed 2 year, not this winter, the winter before, when it was one of the roughest winters here in quite some time, minus 18 degrees Fahrenheit. They took a picture of the cockpit oil temperatures in their accessory gearbox, because the minute they snapped on the master switch, they had temperatures that were equal to being in the southern part of Florida. That was Brian's quote. He said, I cannot believe how great of a job it does, because now my plane thinks it's in Florida all the time. And so it was just one of the things where you keep on networking, you keep on talking, and you keep on using what you know and know what happens with your product and know how good your product is. And you take it to that next step. And now he is, as Paula heard when she called him up, he's been telling everybody how great the product is. And we're all about, cold weather operation, but we know how much we enable all airframes to be able to operate with less maintenance, less fuel, because there's not a warm-up time and there's not the wear and tear. And he is really the spokesperson for that topic for us. And we have many people that give us those type of referrals. You'd asked the question earlier, have you had people that don't want their name used? We come right out and ask and tell people what we intend to do with pictures and with testimonials that they give to us. But very rarely do we have someone say no. In fact, we see some of the opposite side is OEMs like Cirrus that installs our kit as part of their type certificate at the factory, and other manufacturers. They will actually use us in their advertising because it talks about the added utility to the aircraft and the advantage that it is to the user. So a lot of folks will even advertise our product and trade a plane when they're selling their plane. Our name will be listed as one of the added items onto the aircraft to show the value to the end user. And that's just taking that referral step to the next step. That's not only are they referring you, that shows the real value in what you're doing, that now they're listing it as an item that they're willing to basically say, hey, this is what's on my aircraft that allows me to basically promote and state that this is why this aircraft is a better value to you.
Right. And, that kind of speaks to that partnership idea. When you invest in a Tanis preheat system, you're adding value to your aircraft, and you're also adding extended range. You're adding the shorter warm-up times, if you're running some kind of a service So that's advertising for, a flight department manager who's made a great decision, and needs to let people know what he's done in the last, his accomplishments. That could include reducing the amount of time from a call to wheels up, and that kind of thing. So that does work both ways. And I know I didn't add a slide about this, but that's when we did those banners that have Tanis on one side and the installation facility on the other. That's another example of those great partnerships that lead to those referrals.
Well, that was because that was our quip, wasn't it? That nice, neat little stolen thing that we've used for the advertising. What we did in the banners that Paul was talking about is we would use a service facility or an MRO, and we'd put them on one side of the banner, our logo on the other side, and in between we would say the cure for the common aviation cold.
Exactly.
A pun on the terms, of course, but we've had people in Alaska and other places that literally take that banner, and we're not talking about something that's just a small little poster. We're talking about a 12-foot banner that they would hang up in their hangar so that people, as they're walking by, see it. And again, that's a great referral source that people see it and then they ask the question. And of course, it's showing our connection to them and their testimonial to us that we're both on that same banner together.
Right. So just like, every little cafe in the world has one of those little Coca-Cola banners that advertises their name. Now every MRO in the world is going to have a little banner that advertises, or actually a big banner that has a Tanis logo on it. So I think that's a good goal.
We may have a little ways to go to be every MRO, but that's a great comment.
Well, exactly. Okay, I exaggerate. So, let me go back to the idea of the Saturday morning donuts and coffee. And I know this is something that both of you do in your business is events. And Doug, I know you, Doug Evink, I know you support a number of Minnesota flying community events, such as the Iceport, which happened just a week ago. And that was the craziest idea I've ever heard. Going to tell us a little bit about the Iceport?
Yeah, the other Doug right now is probably going to start questioning the sanity of the panelists here. But in Minnesota, at the end of February, first of all, we do walk on water here in Minnesota in the wintertime, which is unheard of in the southern part of the states. But there are ice fishing houses all throughout the lakes in Minnesota. At the end of February, all the ice houses have to be off the lake, and that first weekend after February, one of the resorts on Lake Mille Lacs, which is the second biggest inland lake in Minnesota, has the, quote, roads that they've plowed to go to all these ice houses, and they just widen up one of the roads and make it a mile long, and it becomes a runway. In fact, so much so they actually listen to the forecast, and they make another runway so that we have both a downwind runway and a crosswind runway if the weather changes. And we started this a couple years ago with just a couple of people that want to fly in the wintertime, but it's just so hard to get around. And they thought, what a great idea it is to go and land on the ice with skis, but in this case, they didn't need it. They could land on a runway that was built. So we helped sponsor that event by giving away some items. The first year we figured we would have 10, 15 airplanes land there on the ice. We had about 50. The second year we had about 87. And then 2 weeks ago on Saturday, we had 104 planes land on the ice and come in for breakfast. So they sign up for a drawing. We give away some of our items and some other items that we have received from AOPA and other aviation companies. They have breakfast. They have a great time together. The resort is kind of their last hurrah until they close down, until all that wonderful ice melts off the water, off the lakes, and have open water fishing. And it gives us many leads because we ask the question, do you have a preheat system on your aircraft? And of course, if they flew there and it's landing on the ice, we know they need it, or they need insulated engine covers. And we got over 150 names on entry forms that stated this is whether or not I have preheat or whether or not I need preheat. And we sponsor other types of events like that. That's probably the most successful. But we have many of the trade shows and many of the EAA events or breakfasts or seaplane events that we just try to hobnob with the folks and give back to the people that really have been our referral source. They have been selling for us, and we maybe don't know exactly who it is, and this gives them a chance to, quote, win something and give them time to talk to us in a pretty informal fashion.
Exactly. That is not seen as a sales environment, but is a lot of fun. Yeah, exactly. And Doug Goldstrom, I know you have some similar things. Before I ask you to move on to brokers and how that relationship works, let me ask you about your events, because I know you have the Southeast Aviation Expo that you host in your hangar, at least part of that as well. So that's a good event for you.
Yes, it is. Originally, it was its fifth or sixth year now, and it was basically brought to be a miniature NBAA. It's targeted to the pilots, professional pilots, and everybody that's in aviation. It's again, it's in the fall at our airport, and we host it in our hangar in our conference room. They come in and have speakers come in and give 45-minute presentations. Friday
And
to Saturday.
nothing's frozen. You're not landing on ice.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. The biggest thing we worry about is the rain.
There you go.
Because we do have static displays out there, but it's an opportunity for manufacturers to come in and talk about their product. Insurance companies come in and talk about the product. We come in and talk about our product. We have a great partnership with Cirrus. We come in fact, Cirrus is the largest vendor that comes into this event. And when I say largest, not meaning size of the company, but we have the biggest display because we are a Cirrus Training Center now, obviously, and there's a Cirrus Repair Center here, maintenance center here on the field as well. But we have the biggest presence with Cirrus here, and we host the events. It's an opportunity to get everybody out there, but it's also a great way to reconnect. I mean, this event, are we selling our charter business through that? No, we're really selling the Cirrus, letting everybody know we do that, and then maintenance as well. But it's a great opportunity to rekindle those relationships with people that you know in the industry. And sometimes we don't spend enough time doing that throughout the year. And I know this year we've made a big push on getting back to taking time out of our busy weeks to take them to lunch and talk to them, because some of our referrals come from not only our clients, but those that we've worked for in the past or worked together with in the past, and we've kept those relationships going. And they know who we are, and they trust us. And they'll call and say, hey, so-and-so wants to take a charter trip. Or the customer will call us, the potential customer, and say, hey, so-and-so referred us to me, said, you're the only people to fly me to this location and all that. So we take advantage of those opportunities and really continue those relationships in those events. And it's kind of like having a donuts and all. Okay, well, you're establishing yourself as authority in that particular area, and now all of a sudden, as you build those, even with the group that may not necessarily use your business, but they know about you now, and you've gotten your name out, and they trust you now, and then they're going to start referring you.
Right, absolutely. And maybe we can talk a little bit more. I mean, the broker system is really kind of an organized referral network.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't know how that works exactly, but they have similar things. So maybe you could explain a little bit about how that works.
Sure. The broker market and the charter market, you got brokers out there that have airplanes. You got brokers out there that don't have any airplanes and rely on operators such as us that have a charter certificate that have the airplanes. And they'll call, and it's you bid on. You basically get a big bidding process. Sometimes the lowest price gets the trip, but part of that is cultivating those relationships so that they do call you back, providing great service with their clients, and always gathering that feedback from them on, hey, what did your client say about the trip? What did they say about the airplane? What did they say about the pilot? And partnering with them and talking to them on an ongoing basis, because that's going to bring your business back. If they're happy and they're satisfied with the performance that you did in your aircraft, they're going to call you back. Sometimes it's logistics. They may not call you for a few weeks or a month because their passengers or their clients aren't in a location that's convenient for you to pick them up, cost-wise. But being in the broker market is it's all about referrals. And the more we can get out there and market ourselves and talk to those people, the more we see the referrals coming in from the broker market.
Right. Let me tie that back real quick to something that we talked about in a previous masterclass. Mike Ryan, who's one of our associates, has blown a lot in the backseat of some of the major charters. And he was talking about how a lot of times, with a lot of the major charter companies, he was so excited when he went from flying commercial to flying charter. He was thinking, oh, this is going to be fantastic because it's going to be so much of a personal experience. I don't have to wait in those lines and, do all of those things. But when he started flying with some of the major charters, he said, it's the weirdest thing because I felt like a piece of meat being flown around the country. And in one case, one of the pilots of one of these major, and we won't mention the name, charter companies was actually talking about him with the dispatcher, just like he wasn't even there. Well, I have to get this guy to St. Louis and then I got to turn around and do something else. And, it was just like he was just another thing that he had to do. And I think sometimes people have these expectations from their experience. And, it's not just a fee for a service. And, if you provide the lowest price, you're going to win. I mean, you really have to make your customers feel like you want their business, and it's more than just a simple financial transaction. And Doug, you and I talked about some of these details that you go into when you make a quote especially to an end customer. And I'm sure those broker relationships work that way as well. But maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Well, yeah. Well, I got a great follow-up story for you, touching about that. He's flying on charter now. Well, we picked up one of our best clients that way. We were flying into an airport, and it was pouring down rain, and we didn't have our client on the plane at all. But one of the big operators flew in. Pilots got off, put the luggage out beside the airplane. It's pouring down rain. They walked into the facility. Left the customer out there on the ramp in the rain with his luggage. Well, our pilots happened to observe that, and they walked over to the umbrellas, went and got his car, put his luggage in the back of the car. So the potential client says, hey, I appreciate you guys doing that. Can I have a card? Well, gave him a card, and 3 weeks later, we got a phone call. And he said, I quit doing business with them because I want to fly with you guys. So
exactly.
It goes to show that, every opportunity you have out there is someone's looking, and if you can deliver and make the customer happy, certainly in that circumstance, it worked very well. But back to your original question, which was, now I forgot it. What was your, what do we do? I guess your question was, what do we do?
Well, it was just, the comment about, referrals are not always, especially even with brokers, it's not always just about price. It's about who's going to treat your customer best.
That's
and who
right.
are you comfortable making that referral to.
That's right. What are you going to do, and how can you take care of them? Yes, they are a customer, and yes, they're paying a lot of money, but what can you do? What special things can you do to make that customer feel a part of your organization? And some of the things that we do is, when every time a client flies out of our facility, we have their car detailed and fueled, waiting ramp side when they come back. Obviously we cater to what we put on there on the airplane form when it comes to food and beverages. We like to know we try to call ahead of time and find out, not directly from them, but from an office administrator or a secretary, and say, hey, what are their likes, what are their dislikes, so that we can custom the trip to them.
Right.
We do hotel arrangements sometimes. We always do car arrangements. We'll call ahead when the trip is about 15 minutes, plane's out 15 minutes out from landing, and get the car arranged, either get out to the ramp so they can be beside the airplane, or at least pulled up and around front, because some airports you're not allowed to pull right out on the ramp anymore. But those are some of the small things that we do to help that business, because people come back from that experience and go, wow, they really took care of me, and they are the first ones to talk about it and tell everybody how great Special Services was at taking care of them.
Exactly. Yeah, and those are the kinds of people you want to refer to your friends and family, because they're going to be treated well. That's and right. Not be left on the ramp in the rain.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, Doug Evink, you have kind of an interesting program. A lot of people say that you can't do a referral program in a business-to-business environment in aviation, that it's just, not the kind of thing where you give people a a loyalty card or something like that, and it just isn't done. But you're doing exactly that with coffee cards, with some of the service centers that you do business with. And did you want to explain about this program, or would you like me to outline it?
Let me give it a try and see if I'm doing it right.
Okay, it's your program, so however you outline it is probably correct.
The interesting part for Tanis aircraft products is we have a great market share, and we have our product has lasted many, many years. We have people that come to us and say, I still have your product installed from 1980. And that's great, and that's adds to our referral. But what that means for new sales is we really need to know, not only do you have an airplane, and the next question is, does it have a preheat system on it? And
Exactly.
we've got great data from the last several years of who we've sold it to and what airplane it's on. But as technology has changed, we obviously didn't have email addresses, and if you go not too far back, you only knew who you sold it to, and you really didn't find out the end number of the plane. So we really wanted to figure out, could our customers, who are the MROs, the service facilities, airplane manufacturers, would they cooperate with us in letting us know if there's an airplane that's flying in an environment that would need preheat, and that's quite a few of them, would they let us know if it didn't have a preheat system? So we asked them and didn't get much result. We've even tried to entice them by saying, hey, whenever you do an annual, put this on the seat. And what we've really found is many of our mechanics love our product and are happy to install our product, but they're reluctant to talk to the owner of the airplane or whoever is the decision maker of the ownership of corporate aircraft to install the system. And it could be a couple different issues. Could be maybe they don't know enough about our product, or they're already sitting there saying, well, gee, I'm doing this annual. This price tag is clicking up, and I'm going to have to explain all these items. And so we took the pressure off and said, well, you just let us know. And that really didn't get a lot of traction. We got some, and then we came up with this idea, along with Paula's help, of saying, well, let's go out there and make it real easy for them. Just give us the tail number and the name and how you're connected, and knowing that we're going to follow up from there, and we're going to then take and in turn try to turn that customer right back to the same facility where we got the lead. And we were really interested, and we launched this program a couple months ago. We really didn't know what we were going to get. We got quite a few referrals. We did get a sale quite quickly in one, but probably most importantly out of all those is now we do know, we have that data. There's an airplane that's flying into an area that would need preheat, or it's a colder environment, and it does not have a preheat system on it. We can put them on our email marketing campaign so that they hear and understand more of us. They get to hear from more of our people that have had testimonials, and we follow up with them to get any of their questions answered. But what I really found interesting is many of the people that we sent this out to would send back response to the email, and it might be, say, I got a question about this, or maybe even our service facility. Several of them I had over a dozen people say, "What a great idea! I think it's a good idea to do this. Clever idea." I said, "Great, I'll give you some end numbers," and we did get some that way. But really, what we also got is some of their comments saying, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing this with this airplane." So they were thinking, not only helping us determining aircraft that don't have our system on, they're already looking at their aircraft that they have in their fleet that might be time to upgrade. Maybe they're at TBO on the engine and looking at replacing the engine and giving us some questions. So we really started some dialogue that we would not have seen or gotten in the past, because in the past, the only way we really got new customers was at trade shows, or when we talked to them face to face, or by somebody directing them to call us, because we are one company and we're selling all over the world. And this gave us an avenue, which I really kind of look at this as just a start. We just started it. We're going to tune it up a little bit more and use it as we go to other events. And we're at an expo, a way to get people to sign up and in turn give them something other than a chance to win a product or a giveaway. This gives them something right away, and we get their email address.
Right. Let me break this down just a little bit more and explain to people just kind of how this works. Basically, if you're a mechanic, that is working in the northern states or Canada, and an airplane comes in that doesn't have a preheat system, you can go to a place on Tanis's website and just put in the tail number and enter some information into a form, and then Doug's office will verify the tail number and contact the owner of the airplane. And meanwhile, you get a coffee card. I think it's a $5 card for Starbucks or Tom Hortons or Dunkin' Donuts. So, it's really not rocket science. But I think a lot of mechanics, sales is really not their strong suit. So they'd really rather have Doug do the sales because he's very, very good at it. And, then they get the coffee, and then their shop will end up getting the business if Doug is able to make that sale of that preheat system, which is obviously needed because they're flying in a place that needs it. So it is an interesting program, and I'm glad that that's working out pretty well. But I think the thing that's key here is you really have to think in terms of reminding people, to give you referrals, and also making those incentives. So that they.
And I'd add, Paula,
Uh-huh.
you got to make it easy. You got to make it easy too. You can't.
Yeah.
Make it so difficult. It's got to be something that you're not asking them to get information that's not readily available. Stuff they would have for us. It'd be stuff that they already had on their service ticket because the person's at the facility.
Exactly. Right. So it's something that takes them less than 5 minutes to do next time they get to their computer, and they get a cup of coffee out of the deal. So, yeah. So any advice that either of you have, I'll just open it up to both of you on how to get referrals. I know we've talked a little bit about that, but anything you'd like to add?
On our end, it's really a couple different areas. You got your customers; those are your best referrals right there, and it's the relationships you're building in the aviation community for us. And then, of course, all the networking you do, all those are important too, because those sometimes come back to you as referrals. So, really, everybody you come in contact with is a potential referral. The best ones, obviously, are the ones that are your own clients, because then you have the testimonial aspect of it, where it makes it easy sell for the next person to say, "Oh, I know that person. Yes, they trust you, so I'll trust you as well."
Right. Let's get
on our side.
Go ahead, Doug.
Oh, I'm sorry about that, Paula. Well, on our side, the only thing I would add there is, what makes it easy to ask for a referral is when you are hearing from your customers already of how great your customer service is. We're in one time zone, but yet we stagger our start and stop times. And when you call Tanis, you get a live body and you're talking to them. And the level of technical expertise that we have available to be on the phone or readily available through an email. People send us emails in the middle of the night because they know that 7 a.m. the next morning somebody's responding to them, or even somebody might respond to them at night if we're checking it. And the customer service level is key. That, again, people are more than happy to give you a referral because they know they're going to be taken care of so well.
Fantastic. Yeah, I know we're kind of running up on time, so I'm going to skip the next two questions and go with, anybody have a fantastic response for what to do with a bad referral or a mismatched expectation? I'll tell you, from our point of view, there is no such thing as a bad referral. This is a question that came in from a customer. But if someone thinks enough of you to refer someone, we always at least send a card and cookies or something to acknowledge, thank you for referring us. This one didn't work out for this reason, and we kind of tried to give them as much information as we can. So the next one will be a little better. But either of you have anything to add to that?
We really haven't had a bad referral that I know of. Any referral is good, and we've thought about it. that says, well, what if somebody was to abuse? We talked about this internally. Let's say somebody sat at the airport and just rattled off 500 N numbers for us on this
bounty,
on our
yeah,
sale bounty program. Well, we would find it out very quickly, and then we would deal with that. But I've never had a bad referral that's
Good.
come our way.
Excellent.
And I have to agree with Doug on that. We've never had a bad referral. We may have had a mismatched along the way, thinking we could do something we can't. But even then, that was turned into a positive because we were able to accommodate through another company what the customer really needed. So, but no, we fortunately have not had any bad referrals.
Excellent. Great. Well, there you have it. Any referral is a good one, and you should be doing everything in your power to get them. So, yeah, I really appreciate you both being on today. This was a great session, and we'll actually publish on our blog when we do the write-up for this event. We'll do the links to the Tanis Bounty Program and the those write-ups we did for SSC from Jim Hamlet and the other folks, so that a lot of the examples that we talked about today, you'll have the links to the live examples if you need those. Or, of course, if you have any questions that we didn't answer today when we ran out of time, you can email me and I'll hit up the Dougs for their comments. And thank you very much for joining us, and we're glad you were here.
See you all next time. Thanks, Doug and the rest of you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
You know you could.